Entertainer and reggae star Bob Marley, Rita Marley, and the manager of the Wailers, Don Taylor, are now patients in the University Hospital after receiving gunshot wounds during a shooting incident which took place at Marley's home at 56 Hope Road tonight.
The attempted assassination of Bob Marley on December 3rd, 1976 at his Tuff Gong studio left him wounded but alive.
Why would anybody want to hurt Bob?
But have you ever wondered who shot the man who shot the sheriff and why?
CIA who was watching.
But you know who did it?
Yeah.
Today we will dive into the events surrounding that fateful night and the outcome of the perpetrators involved.
Peace was way too dangerous for the politicians.
If a directive was given, did it come from the highest level?
Born in what was then British Jamaica, Marley found peace in music, even in times of unrest. Back in 1963, Bob Marley famously kick-started his musical career from forming the Bob Marley and the Wailers band. He and his group did not have to wait long to achieve success with the song One Love or People Get Ready that featured in their debut album The Wailing Wailers in 1965. The world greeted Bob and his band with open arms. Though the Wailers disbanded in 1974, Marley was quick to find a backup band. Nothing could dampen his spirits throughout his career, except of course for the near-death experience in 1976. On December 3rd of that year, around 8:30 in the evening, Bob and his band were rehearsing for an upcoming concert at his home studio, Tuff Gong. 7 armed men in 2 white Datsun compacts entered through the gates of Marley's utopian safe house at 56 Hope Road. The 2 cars with their occupants had driven through the front gates of Tuff Gong unhindered. Bob's 2 longtime guards had mysteriously disappeared from their guard station. But who were these men, and were the guards paid off? We will get to that, but in the meantime, click the like button so YouTube recommend this video to others. In his book, So Much Things to Say, The Oral History of Bob Marley, reggae historian and archivist Roger Stephens wrote, "The gunmen shot Marley's wife first in the head as she was leaving the house in her Volkswagen. Rita had stopped to let another car drive into the compound through the gate which was curiously unmanned. As the car passed her, a gunman shot at Rita from the passenger seat. The bullet grazed her scalp and left her bloodied, but alive." According to So Much Things to Say, eyewitness Tyrone Downey, a keyboardist, recalled that at the moment the gunmen broke in, they were rehearsing the song I Shot the Sheriff. Bob had stepped out, however, because the horns weren't on that record, and the horn players wanted to contribute to the music. Bob went out of the rehearsal room and into the kitchen to get something or another, and all of a sudden a hand came through the door, like around the door, and started firing at 38. Though the gunman aimed for Marley's chest, the bullet missed and hit Bob in the arm the moment his manager Don Taylor pulled him to the ground. The other band employees, Taylor and Louise Griffin, also got shot in their leg and the torso. But by some miracle, the gunmen fled the scene soon after shooting Marley, leaving behind no fatalities. Either by good fortune or poor marksmanship, the bullet that was aimed at Marley missed his chest and lodged in his arm. Rita, on the other hand, although shot in the head, survived the hit. Face to Face Africa reported, Marley's manager, Don Taylor, sustained serious injuries from a shot wound to his leg. The victims were rushed to the University Hospital, where they were all treated for their injuries. This event, without context, is sure to leave you bewildered. So let us delve deeper into the event of that fateful night in December. However, to rediscover the motive behind what was at the time a momentous incident, we need to revisit the 1970s. And you would have been forgiven if you described Kingston as a war zone during the mid-1970s. The political tension in Kingston had heightened to fever pitch due to the approaching political elections between the CIA-backed Jamaican Labour Party and the People's National Party with links to Cuba and Russia.
I'd say most of the violence was coming from the Jamaica Labour Party side, and behind them was the CIA in terms of getting the weapons in and getting the money in with all the propaganda guidance.
Both political parties aggressively courted the support of Jamaica's greatest cultural export, Bob Marley. Though Marley and his wife had backed the then Prime Minister, Michael Manley, and his Democratic Socialist People's National Party in the 1972 elections, they decided to remain neutral during the 1976 elections. With supermarkets running short on stock and the power cuts plentiful, guns flooded into the island. No-go areas were brutally patrolled in the guise of soldiers operating under their own twisted law. Jamaica experienced its darkest times since the days the British exited the island. Marley was inspired by the Stevie Wonder concert held the previous year in the aid of blind children in Jamaica. He wanted to host a similar free concert to spread the message of peace and love during those tumultuous times. According to Stephen Davis, the author of Bob Marley, Conquering Lion of Reggae, and I quote, "Bob wanted to do something, to put on a benefit concert, and so the concert was scheduled to take place at the National Heroes Park. The concert was to have no political overtones, except, of course, for the fact that there was a huge battle for the souls of the nation." In other words, Marley was caught in his own cultural gravity, for the PNP party had strategically moved the election dates to coincide with the Smile Jamaica concert, effectively turning the concert into a rally for the government. So you could say an invisible set of forces and circumstances drove Bob into the direction society wanted him to go. This made him furious because he had agreed to the idea of a free concert on one condition, that there would not be any political interference. Though Marley was given police protection after the PNP stunt, his house became a targeted spot by the right-wing Labour Party led by Edward Seaga. Nancy Burke, Marley's neighbour and friend, recalled hearing Wailers percussionist Alvin Patterson say, "It's Seaga man them come fi kill Bob." After the shooting, numerous reports indicated that the gunmen returned to Tivoli Gardens, a neighbourhood loyal to the JLP and home to the notorious Shower Posse. Both Taylor and Marley were present at a ghetto court in which the gunmen who shot Marley and the others were tried and executed. According to Taylor, before one of the shooters was killed, he claimed that the CIA signed him up to kill Marley in exchange for drugs and guns. Following the incident, Marley moved to England, where he spent 2 years in self-imposed exile. It was tremendously depressing because he had been helping the people who came to shoot him, say reggae archivist Roger Stephens. He had been giving them money, he had been giving them food. He just couldn't understand how these people would betray him so terribly. It was a very disheartening time for him, in the years that followed. Stephens continued, but he was also a merciful person. In 1978, on his European tour, some guy came backstage and confessed to Bob that he would have been a part of the people who came for him that night, but he just couldn't find his gun that evening. Bob forgave him and brought him on the rest of the tour with him and gave him a job on the tour. Bob Marley returned to Jamaica in 1978 and performed at another political concert, the One Love Peace Concert, once again in an effort to calm the warring parties. Near the end of the performance, Michael Manley and his political rival Edward Seaga joined each other on stage and shook hands at Bob Marley's request.
When the right-wing leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, Edward Seaga, was hauled on stage, everyone wondered whether Socialist Prime Minister Michael Manley would have the nerve to meet and greet him. Manley arrived to cement what seemed a unique moment in Jamaican history. But the grand One Love gesture was destined to change little for the people.